as per the schedule, it is my own talk. My own talk. I scheduled my own talk here. I scheduled it towards the end of the symposium as one of the last talks, deliberately because I thought I could do the time management also as well as possible. Uh, so I'll not take all the half an hour that is available to me. Uh, I'll take as less time as possible to make the point. The title of my paper is Jati Studies. This is a word that is in the pattern of words like gender studies, this studies, that studies in the university system. The, we have to create a field, a new field called Jati studies also. And these studies, for example, if you have gender studies has a framework that comes from the West or from some critical social theory or critical sociology or cultural studies or some frameworks that are already there. Uh, so we need to see that Jati studies doesn't suffer that problem of some outside framework being brought into Jati studies. At least this studies has to be spared. This field has to be spared from such outside framework. That is why I said Jati studies from inside Jati. And here my main emphasis is on, I'm sharing my screen. If there is any other screen, probably that will go now. We have to see that jatis are one world. There is a world of jatis, and there is another world of varnas, and there is another system of what they call castes. And when we talk of frameworks of study, the Jati's world needs to be studied from inside the Jati world itself, inside the Jati world. And the Varna world has to be studied from inside the Varna world. And caste itself is actually this there is no such world actually. There is no such world as caste world. This is a framework that has been created, as has been mentioned by all the speakers today. This framework was a colonial framework. They have created this framework. I've seen in the question and answer box some suggestions that because caste is a colonial word, we have to discard that word. We should not use that at all. We have to use either the word jati or varna. I am into another field called linguistics also. I'm into the field of communication. So, all friends, please let me suggest to you that let us be very good in our communication. When the other side or your audience is using the word caste, then you should not say, no, I don't understand this word caste that you're using. I use the word jati, whether it makes sense to you or not, that is your problem. So you have to understand that the word caste is now being used everywhere all over in the world. And then you have to use that word and explain the way in which you are using it. Every time you use it, you have to tell that. Now, in the whiteboard that I shared here, the word caste is being used in plural, castes. But in the title of the journal that they started to talk about caste as a universal situation, they are using it in singular. Caste is a singular there. When you are using the word caste as a singular, they are talking about a discriminatory system. When you are talking caste in terms of a plural, then you are talking about caste communities, caste groups. If you watch all the video recordings of the talks today, many today have used the word caste in the sense of jati. For example, Professor R. Vaidyanathan was using the word caste only as a caste as a social capital, but what he meant was jatis only. And when you are using it in that sense, you have to communicate to the other side that you are not using it as caste, as singular, as a phenomena, as a social system or a social situation. You are using it in plural. There are many caste communities. Okay. And these caste communities are for the convenience of the English speaking audience are being called caste, and that is what you have to note also, all of you please remember that there is a caste certificate being given by the government officials for getting benefits of other backward classes, OBC. An individual is supposed to go to a revenue official and get a caste certificate. Does the caste certificate talk about any hierarchical position of that particular caste? Or does it say anything about the Varna status of that caste? No. All that it does is it talks about the Jati. So, in a caste certificate in this country, let me tell you, the caste certificate by a revenue official is talking about Jati only. So, from a governmental point of view, inside caste certificates, what is being certified is a Jati. Okay. And when you go to the ground reality, where Jatis are actually living, you have to do cultural research, fieldwork based research, you have to go talk to people. Let me assure you, or you will also be able to know when you do such fieldwork, the people on the ground do not know the word Varna. They do not know. Unless they are some Sanskrit educated, literature educated, family from some Brahmin community or Vaishya community or something like that, they usually do not know the word Varna at all. All that they know is the word Jati or its equivalent in that regional language. That's all. Also, let me also tell you that in that situation, Brahmana Varna, what you call Brahmana as Varna, becomes a Jati inside the village. If you go to the village, Brahmin is a Jati or Kulamu or whatever the regional word there in that village is. And even a Muslim is a caste there. It's a Jati there. And if you go to a government certificate, for example, there is a category, government category called scheduled tribe. And this certificate is given to certain communities like Yanadi and Erikala in the Telugu speaking areas. Yanadis are pig rearing community, and Erikalas have multiple groups within themselves. Some of them are pig rearing, some of them are snake catchers, and there are 5 different Erikala groups. These are actually, from the governmental point of view, Erikala is an ST group. Anadi also is an ST group, but go to the village, ask people, they just say that they belong to Yanadi Kulamu or Yanadi Jati, Erikala Jati. So, Jati is such a strong and fixed category from inside Jati, from inside the village, that everything from the books of Varna, from the Dharma Shastras, or everything from the government records like OBC, SC, ST, everything boils down to Jati inside the village made of Jatis. Okay. And if you see inside the village inside this Jati. Sumanaspati Garu was already almost articulating that point, which is my maxim, that caste or Jati is a tribe which lives in association with other tribes, and tribe is a Jati which lives in isolation. Okay, so all these Jatis have features of the tribes like endogamy, clan, Gotra. I was answering in the question and answer box. Someone was saying, why Gotras only for Brahmins? I was saying that Gotra is a universal category. In a universal cultural anthropological language, it is called clan. It's an exogamous group. This was being mentioned by Nagaraj also during his talk. So these features of Gotra, Jati, all these live inside the village, they exist inside the village as an associational feature. They are all associational features. Your exogamy comes out only when you are in association with others. Your endogamy comes out only when you live in association with others. Your endogamy gets hidden when you live in isolation. Because these endogamous groups are living in association with other groups, their endogamous behavior is coming out, their exogamous behavior is coming out, and their because they are living in association only, the idea of division of labor that makes the tribal group. Sumanaspati Garu was mentioning how inside a tribal group there is no specialization of a particular profession, particular occupation. But why Jatis become specialized in a particular profession is because they live in association with others. And when they live in association and when for division of labor, a particular profession becomes the specialized profession of a particular Jati, then the human rights, we talk about human rights of Jatis are protected by actually protecting the right of a particular Jati and the family members of that Jati and the individual members of that Jati for that particular profession. So, from the point of view of the village as a family, actually, exclusion of others from the profession of a given jati, exclusion of all other jatis from the profession of a given jati is the protection of the right of that jati to that profession. So, they are looking at that as a right issue. So they are looking at that as a securing issue. They are looking at that as a protection issue. So this exclusion, which is actually from a modern point of view, that was what actually a critique of modernity that was being done the whole day, is being done because all these categories of equality, exclusion, inclusion, all these, we have got so much colonized that when we see that somebody is getting excluded, it's a discrimination. Exclusion is discrimination. Whereas here, exclusion of other people from the occupation, hereditary occupation of a jati, is being looked at as the protection of the rights of the jati. These ideas of how endogamy, for example, uh, can be interpreted as exclusion because you are excluding others from marrying you, or you are excluding yourself from marrying others. But that endogamy is being looked at as part of the hereditary occupations, home training, family training of hereditary occupations for an excellent professional skill training. So all this you will be able to understand only when you do Jati studies from inside the Jati. That is why when people go from outside for field work to these places and say that, oh, okay, you are partners and you want to make parts and you don't allow any other people to do parts, and say this to an agriculturist that this is so bad that you are not allowing anyone to make parts. This perspective with which the city guy, the modern guy, the contemporary guy is coming to the village, is completely unintelligible to the village people. For them, what's wrong is the response. Okay, yes, a potter makes the parts, and then I'm an agriculturist, I do agriculture, and I don't allow other people to do agriculture, and potter doesn't allow me to make parts. That is a protection. That is a great idea. That is an ideal from the point of view of these people. And for them, Varna is also unintelligible because if you say, for example, Varna and explain to them that Vaishya is a person according to the Dharma Shastras who resorts to agriculture, who is involved in agriculture, then an agricultural community like Reddy, Kamma, Yadav, or any other community all over the country might say, "Oh, then I'm a Vaishya." Then you might say, "No, no, you are a Shudra." Then what is this? You just now you said that agricultural communities are Vaishyas. I'm an agricultural community person. Then you, from a Varna point of view, your answer is that you don't have an Upanayana, you don't have a Yajnopavita. That is why then a person living an agriculturist life would say, "You did not say this to me that I should have Upanayana, then only I would become." So, a person with Upanayana, if he does agriculture, then only he is a Vaishya. Where is this Vaishya? He would ask you. You don't have that Vaishya anywhere in this country. So, your Varna definition coming from Dharma Shastra has no example at all in the whole country. So that shows that this lens of Varna is not working at all on the ground. Even if you have the names of Varnas like Brahmana or Kshatriya, they boil down to Jati on the ground. And these Jati people, they heard Varna names, not the category of Varna or definitions of Varna from the Dharma Shastras, all these details, but from the Itihasa Purana knowledge. They understand that there is a category called Brahmana, there is a category called Kshatriya, there is a category called Vaishya who have name endings like Shetty and all that. The result you see in different jatis having um, Kshatriyization or Brahmanization or Vaishyaization. These three Varnas model, they get into that. When they do that, they are doing on some basis which probably you don't understand. For them, Kshatriya is this, for them, Brahmana is this. So, for example, Vishwa Brahmana, all the artisan communities call themselves as Vishwa Brahmana. All the barber community calls itself as Nayi Brahmana. Padmashalis also have a kind of Upanayana. They wear the Yajnopavita. M.N. Srinivas wanted to explain all this away in the name of Sanskritization. And he wanted to explain this away as just imitation. But actually, if you see on the ground how it works, how artisan communities were involved in the temple culture, in making sculptures, in the temple activities, how the barber community was also a music community and was involved in the temple music and all that, then you study how the Varna Jati interaction actually happened on the ground, you would understand that this is not just an imitation, this is not just an aspiration for vertical upward mobility. It was happening out of an actual attempt to understand jatis in terms of varnas that they were uh, trying to understand from the knowledge of itihasas and puranas and Vedas. And in fact, if you see the historical records, you will be able to see that this Brahmanization of the Vishwa Brahmanas or the Kshatriyization of the Reddis during the Reddy kingdom, all these were being done by the Brahmin Dharmashastrakaras themselves. Brahmin Dharmashastrakaras created a category called Satshudras during the time of 15th, 13th, 14th centuries when Reddy kings and Kakatiya kings, they were ruling. So there was an interaction that was happening from the side of the Varna Dharmashastra writing with the Jati system that was on the ground, because the Jati, agricultural Jatis were coming into power, they were ruling most of the ruling classes in India. There are hardly any examples of a true Kshatriya community from the Vedic point of view ruling India as a Kshatriya community. There were many Jatis that were coming into power and becoming Kshatriya. They were getting Kshatriyized. So all these uh, aspects of interaction between the ground reality of Jati, the book reality of Varna, the colonial governmental reality of caste has to be studied sitting inside the Jati, sitting inside the village, sitting and looking at the Jati participants, how they view the books of Varna and Dharma Shastra, how they understand the governmental categories of OBC, SC, ST, and respond to that from the point of view of the benefits that the government offers to them. All this is required. For all that, please go to the village, live inside Jati, look at Jati from inside Jati, from the participants of Jati. This is my request. Thank you.